I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. This is our becoming an annual tradition, our seasonal readiness briefing. Um, we usually do this right at the start of hurricane season. We're a little later this year, but we wanted to include the National Readiness Target in tonight's briefing, and we wanted to bring you the latest and greatest information. Tonight's briefing will be recorded, and we will share the recording out later this week. We're going to need to edit down some time. We'll probably put it on YouTube on a secure link. I just want to open with some ground rules for tonight to make the meeting easier. Please block your cameras and mute your mics. The reason I ask you to block your cameras is because it will slow down the meeting bandwidth. And I'm currently in a hotel, so hopefully my internet doesn't crash out on me while I'm doing this tonight. I'm up in Gorham, New Hampshire. We have meetings tomorrow up here. Couple other ground rules. If you have questions, there's a Q&A button at the top. Please click on Q&A and enter your questions. You can enter them throughout the call tonight, and we'll have an open session at the end. We ask that you not interrupt the PowerPoint presentation while we're going with your questions. Just put them in the Q&A and we'll answer them at the end. But I also don't want you to forget your question, so definitely put it in the Q&A while we go. If you monitor the chat button, you'll see that Tova's in there putting messages. I want to follow Ashley's acronym rule. Ashley's the best. And she really tries not to say acronyms, but it's the Red Cross and we speak a language all our own. But I know that there's a lot of newer people that signed up for tonight's briefing. So I'll do my best to not, at least the first time, make sure I speak out an acronym. But also Tova will put acronyms into the chat if I mess up. The other thing is we're going to call out some opportunities to fill out some forms, sign up for things. And again, if there's a link that we mentioned, we'll make sure to put that in the chat as well so you guys can access links and copy and paste them into your browser. With that being said, and if I put in an acronym, Tova, if I speak an acronym for the first time that I should explain, please call me out. All right.
Will do.
Here goes our agenda for tonight. John Kepler is already interrupting. Go for it, John Kepler.
Sorry, John. I just wanted to let you know that I am unable to see chat, and I don't know if other people are going to be in the same position. It tells me it's a channel meeting and only members of the team have access.
Oh, good call. Thank you, John. So we'll put those things in the Q&A so everybody can see them.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you for pointing that out. We wouldn't have known, so I appreciate it. That's great. All right, so tonight we're going to talk about the realignment. For those of you that remember, around this time last year, we were talking about realignment, and during the briefing, we went over that. We're going to talk about our priorities for FY26. We're almost into our second quarter of FY26, so we're going to talk about where we're at as far as our priorities go. We're going to talk about the seasonal weather briefing, the hurricane outlook for this year, threats to the region, things like that. Some reminders about deployment because deployment season is upon us. And then we're going to get into a high-level overview of the National Readiness Target with a heavy, heavy, heavy focus on mobilization. Show of hands, and I think you can raise your hands, or you can use the reaction button and give me thumbs. Who has seen this cartoon before from 2023? Great. So in 2023, we were the organization, the mothership, put out a 5-year plan talking about how presence is a mission and a promise. We're going to focus on health, hunger, and housing. We're going to simplify our processes, and we're going to improve access and equity, not equality, equity. And we want to empower our workforce. So in that, we are in year 2 of this. Year 1 was realignment. It was streamlining the way the employees, the roles, the functions of the staff is set up. Year 2 is now getting into the workforce. Remember, we're 90% volunteer. So now we've moved on into aligning the disaster workforce to better serve our world as we are no longer in gray sky or blue sky. As a huge fan of Prince, I will share with you, we are in purple sky. because we're always in continuous response. So as part of the realignment, Northern New England, just gonna mute. I'm hearing an echo. There we go. As part of the realignment, Northern New England created a couple of new positions: our response manager, our workforce engagement manager, and our client care manager, and our mass care manager. Actually, 4 new positions. And we also realigned our community disaster program managers. So all of you should know who your community disaster program manager is. If you're newer, I'm going to show you who they are so you can see them. But we've created a concept of there's geography, people that are responsible for areas, disaster response areas, and then and then people that are responsible for functions. The 4 functions that you see on the right are so work heavy that there's a person assigned to that job. Each community disaster program manager has a secondary role on functions that are less busy, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Functions that are still necessary and we need to do them and have teams that do them and grow and develop volunteers for them, but functions that don't require somebody full-time as an employee to be managing those functions. So here's the disaster response areas as part of the realignment. You can see, and again, we'll share this with we'll share this PowerPoint with the video. You can see that in Maine, each disaster response area corresponds with the chapters. So Northern and Eastern Maine, those are the same counties that correspond with the Northern and Eastern Maine chapter. Same with Central Coastal, same with Southern. New Hampshire and Vermont are different. New Hampshire and Vermont are each an entire chapter in and of themselves. So what we did was, because of the vast geography, we split them in half. So we have Northern New Hampshire and Southern New Hampshire, Northern Vermont and Southern Vermont. And for those of you that are on disaster action teams that respond to fires and other day-to-day emergencies, you'll note that these acronyms across the top, I'm going to run my mouse across. These acronyms are the ones that you'll use in RC Care when you're doing case entry. In case anyone's ever wondered where you can find those acronyms, there they are. So here's who your community disaster program managers are. Marie up in Northern and Eastern Maine, and her secondary role, her functional role, which is 20 to 30% of their time, is external relations with a focus on community engagement and partnerships. Eric Lines, who's Central and Coastal Maine, his secondary role is external relations, and he works very closely with our regional lead, Karen Dudley. Tova Zampar, who's in Southern Maine, and she's our special projects lead. That's a new functional role where Tova's focus is on region-wide projects that require a significant amount of organization and project management. So the biggest one she's working on right now is Northern New England's response to the National Readiness Target and how we're going to achieve our goals in it. Sarah Beaudry, who's in New Hampshire North, she's also a part of she's the lead in the feeding team. Rich Stancliffe, who's New Hampshire South, is our information and planning guru. He works very closely with the likes of John Kepler and Norm Gentry and others, and he's building a really strong team right now. Michaela Olin in Vermont North. And many of you know Michaela's our preparedness lead, so that's the home fire campaign. She works very closely with our volunteer preparedness lead, which is Mary Ellen Tarling, home fire campaign, community education, and youth education. And then Lindsay Morin, who's Vermont South. She leads our operations program as part of like how we respond to emergencies, to disasters, not to emergencies. Day to day is Frank, but how we respond to major like level 2 and above incidents. She also works with our external partners to do training and exercise. So training our partners to do things like shelter fundamentals, making sure that we're working on developing partners in the future that can support us for our readiness target goals. Lindsay plays a key role in doing those things, and also exercising, which we're doing quite a bit of right now. And then when you look at the functions, we have Ashley, who's our workforce engagement manager, and Jillian, our workforce engagement specialist. You have Charles Hall, who's our senior community disaster program manager. And many of you know Charles. He's our day-to-day guy. He runs the department day to day, handles all the day-to-day functions. Whereas I, as the disaster officer, focus on strategic functions, engagement, things like that, and overseeing the whole department. Marcia Haynes, many of you knew her as the logistics guru, but that also includes mass care. Angela Hughes, who's our youth education coordinator. She's based in Southern New Hampshire. She's a grant funded position that focuses on Southern New Hampshire. But for this year, really exciting, we have loosened up our goal numbers for youth education so that every disaster response area can at least do, at a minimum, 100 youth served. So we're going to expand that program and offer more youth ed and youth prep across the region. Allison Stanzik, our newest employee, she started with us December 18th of last year, is our client care manager with a focus on recovery, DMH, DHS. Oh, I did it. Acronyms. I'm sorry. Recovery, disaster mental health, disaster health services, disaster spiritual care, and disability integration. Those are the programs that are in client care. And then Frank Martin, who's our regional response manager, he's disaster action team and the DAT disaster action team duty officers. So those are our day-to-day dispatchers and our day-to-day responders. That's a very busy program. All of this realignment occurred in October of last year. So when we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary of this change, and we have made a lot of great progress. We've achieved a ton of milestones. And I'd really like to show you how we did last year. This was one of our best years ever as a region, especially since the merger. We hit 109% of our goal of people served in preparedness. Our home fire responses are 92% to goal. And I'll just point out, historically, we've never been above 80% to goal. And last year we were 72% to goal. So we went up by 20 percentage points year over year. That means more departments and agencies and clients are calling us for assistance after a disaster. Our client experience is the second highest in the nation at 89%. We actually received an award from national headquarters because of the strong work that our volunteers do day to day. Our regional readiness goal was 80% and we achieved it. That means that we had supplies, resources, partnership agreements, everything was at 80%, which is where we were supposed to be. Our volunteer hours was at 105%. Thank you to all of you on this call tonight. We exceeded that goal. Our diversity goal was also exceeded, and our volunteer experience goal was in the healthy range and also well above the median and above goal. We crushed it. So as hard and as painful as change was last year, and as hard and as painful as realignment was, the proof is in the pudding, everybody. We have had a tremendous year in the last year, and we are poised for another great year as we transition using this new process, this new system, this new organizational structure to develop the readiness target goals and to hit those numbers as well and to hit those marks. And it's not just about hitting marks, it's about serving clients. And I'll tell you, if you look at these numbers, this equates into satisfied clients and more of them. We're getting to more people. We're doing more work. We've been incredibly successful. And that is on the backs of every single person on this call. I can't thank you all enough. This is tremendous. So what are our priorities for this year? If you look there, you'll see 1 million Post-it notes on a wall. That's what we call Tova's fever dream, because Tova is the queen of Post-it notes. She loves them. She loves them so much, Ashley gave her a Post-it note gift basket recently. But we've got a lot of things we've got to do this year. So we need to organize it and we need to figure out what the best approach to it is. So I'm going to present that to you, but understand this. We've got to hit our readiness target goals and we've got to hit 60% of them this year. It's a 5-year program, so we don't need to be at 100% till 2030, but we need to hit our goals for this year. We need to grow our in-person engagement. What does that mean? We need to get to even more clients, and we need to get to them in person. We also need to grow our engagement with our volunteers in person. Our community disaster program managers need to get out in the community more. Ever since COVID, everyone's kind of gone into this bunker scenario, right? Closing offices, reducing brick and mortar, but our focus is communities. So we need to leverage our vehicles, leverage our time, leverage what we have for budget, and we need to get out there and be in communities. And our teams need to see us. That's really important. It's one of the reasons why I'm in Gorham, New Hampshire tonight. We've got to get out there, and we've got to see our partners too. We need to engage. And knowing that is a big thing for our team this year. They're going to do it. We need to strengthen our volunteer leadership. We have tremendous volunteer partners that work with all of us. I have two of them. They are the best. I trust them wholeheartedly and implicitly. And I know many of the volunteer partners on this call, their staff members feel the same way about them. And we need to grow our leaders. And we need to, we've had hundreds of new volunteers come in the last year. We need to develop them into leaders. We need our current group welcoming these new volunteers. And we need to, teach them the right way, teach them how we do things in Northern New England, teach them the way we're doing things in the future, the way we're changing into. And we need to grow them as leaders, get them out on deployment, get them out to calls, get them out doing community events, and really grow that workforce and engage it. We have to change our culture to one of mobilization. You're going to hear me say this a lot tonight. And it's not just about disaster action team responding to day-to-day calls. One of the readiness target things is we have to demonstrate that we can mobilize quickly. And we're going to talk about what that means later on. But understand this, we have been doing exercises and drills, getting ready for that with our disaster action teams. And we're transitioning to dispatching more digitally because the Red Cross has mandated that we do that. And because we have to get our information to our teams faster. It doesn't mean we don't want to be safe. It doesn't mean we're going to not give you as much information as we can gather. It just means that we are going to get people assigned to the call if they're available as quickly as we can. And then we're going to give them as much information as we can. Our duty officers are doing a great job with that. And I'll tell you where the proof is in the pudding there. When I started 3 years ago, my third anniversary is in a week. When I started 3 years ago, we were over 15% virtual in our responses. Did anyone want to put in the Q&A, or you can unmute and speak and guess what we were for virtual this year? I'll pick on someone. Brian Boulay, do you know?
I just guessed at 2%.
What's your guess? Brian, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. How about, let me pull up a random name. Let's go with Pat Amsden. Hi, Pat.
I'll say 100%. I don't know.
We're close. Our percent of virtuals was less than 2% this year. So in 3 years, we went from 15% to 2%. And a huge factor is that we've grown the team. But another factor is that we're dispatching the closest responders that are available that accept the call to the calls. It's making a difference. The proof is in the numbers. And Pat, thank you for participating in the exercise for Northern New Hampshire. I hope it was enlightening, and I look forward to doing another one with you. All right. Internal recruitment. This meeting went out to people that aren't currently in disaster cycle services. This went out to all of the Northern New England volunteers outside of DCS. It went to Blood, it went to other teams. So the reason for that is because we wanted to make them aware of what's going on in disaster cycle services. We wanted to talk about seasonal readiness because hurricane season affects us all at Red Cross, including the Blood teams. But we also wanted to make you aware of the opportunities in DCS to see if there's things that maybe they would like to do as well. We also are looking at our current teams and figuring out what the best way is to use them and to potentially recruit them for other positions that they can do. One of the things we try and do when a new volunteer meets their community disaster program manager is talk to them about what their interests are and see if we can find positions for them and gaps for them that work. Gaps are group activity positions. I almost did it again. Find positions and gaps for them that work best for them and what they're interested in and what their experience is. But we still don't do a very good job with that, and we need to do better with that. So as we get to know people, we always find new things that they might be interested in. So we want to see if there's opportunities there for people to slide into positions they're interested in. We're really proud of what we've done with our onboarding process. Our workforce engagement team is second to none. They're the best. Ashley, Jillian, Emily, John, Dan Lockmondy, you guys are awesome. And the Irene, the proof is in the pudding. We have gone from we've gone from 24 days somebody meeting their CDPM down to 10, and 7 days to getting their orientation with Irene. That's significant. That's a huge jump. Our workforce team is crushing it. And again, proof is in the pudding. We're seeing more and new volunteers out there getting out to calls. We're seeing more observers on the schedule for disaster action teams. This is great. This is what we've been trying to build towards for 3 years. And this is how we're going to do well on our readiness target. And then we're also, the last one is we need to use volunteer connection more. Our workforce needs to use it more, manage their profiles, use the calendars, track their hours, and our staff needs to use it more. When we interact with volunteers, we need to put it into the system. It's our system of record, and we've not done a good job using it. It has a lot more functionality than people realize, and John Kepler is probably nodding his head as hard as he can. And if you are, John, please put it in the Q&A. We need to do a better job with it. We need to use it to send messages because then it's recorded in everyone's profiles, like I did for this meeting. We just got to do more. So we're going to really make a focus on that and make sure that we hold the staff accountable to doing that. All right, let's talk about hurricane season. Hurricane season this season is predicted to be a strong season, but not a catastrophic season. Currently, the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, I almost got that out cleanly, is predicting 13 to 19 named storms. So those are storms with winds in excess of 40 miles an hour. 6 to 10 of those will be hurricanes, winds greater than 75 miles an hour. And 3 to 5 of them will be major hurricanes. So winds in excess of 112 miles an hour. We have a 60% chance of an above normal season, but again, not a catastrophic season. We've already seen our first couple of named storms go by. We did have a near miss recently with a storm that would have been catastrophic, but nothing yet this season. So what are the contributing factors? There is a warmer than average Atlantic sea surface temperature that's causing increased convection. I'm going to turn off my camera because it's getting really dark. You guys don't need to see that. So warmer than average Atlantic sea is causing increased convection and conduction of water up into the atmosphere, which is causing hurricanes to build. Also, ENSO is El Nino Southern. I don't know what the O is, but it's El Nino out there in the Southern Pacific, like near California, Mexico's border. There, it's neutral this year, so it is not contributing to storms, and that's why we're not seeing a catastrophic season despite the high sea temperatures. And then we're also seeing weaker wind shear and active West African monsoon season. So again, it's a higher than normal season, but not catastrophic. And those are the contributing factors. As it looks for northern New England, we actually did go and look and see what our chances of getting storms are in our states. Maine's got a 26% chance of a tropical storm and a 9% chance of a hurricane this season. New Hampshire, 22% and 7%. Vermont, they wouldn't give us a percentage. other than to say it's historically low. However, Vermont is, as we well know, incredibly vulnerable to flooding. Who here, show of thumbs or hands, has responded to flooding in Vermont in the last 3 years? So many. Yeah. So we know. Yeah, we definitely know in northern New England that that's a thing, right? Um, what's our bigger threat? Our bigger threats are winter storms, utility disruptions, so power outages, disruptions of our water supply, of our food supply. Those are the things that are bigger threats for our communities, as well as obviously flooding. And we can have flooding year round. We can have it in December. We can have it anytime. January, we've had that in the last few years in Maine. So just because it's winter doesn't mean things won't flood. All right, let's talk about deployment. Hey Pete, you made the slide deck. Um, hope you're enjoying that. Pete Pete raised his hand. Nice, Pete. All right, so how can you get ready for deployment this season? So the first thing is we ask that each and every one of you tonight, when before this call is over or when this call finishes, please go on your profile and Volunteer Connection and update your availability. It's okay to say you're not available. We would rather it say something than nothing. Nothing makes us wonder, should we call you? Should we not call you? Maybe you're available, maybe you're not. You can always say no. So even if you list yourself as available, when you get the call from Workforce, from Jillian or from Eve or Linda, they're going to call you, but you can say, hey, listen, sorry, I can't go right now this minute. That's okay. We would rather call people that want to be called and talk to people that are interested, or not bother people that are saying I'm not currently available. And the same goes for when we do mobilization. So you'll hear me repeat that story there. So please update your availability and Volunteer Connection. There's great tools to do it. Check your training. A lot of things have changed in the last couple years in Edge. Oh yes, and if you're not a DCS, if you're not a Disaster Cycle Services volunteer on this call, your availability won't be an option. So you'll need to join Disaster Cycle Services before you can update your availability. And part of doing that is doing training in Edge. So doing training in Edge is, for our newer people, it's how you get positions assigned to you and how you get gaps. It's also a way to refresh your memory. Show of thumbs or hands, who here has more than one gap or position? Yeah, I'm seeing lots of hands pop up. Yeah, up to 17, 18. So understanding that, we need to make sure that you're refreshed on the things you're deploying for, right? So if you know you're going to go out and you're going to work in feeding, check on your feeding gaps. If you know you're going to go out and you're going to be someone that does disaster assessment, make sure that you've got the latest training for that. And if you're not sure, ask your community disaster program manager or ask the workforce team. Julian and Ashley and Emily and John and Dan, Irene, they can all help you with figuring that out. So certainly refresh your training if you want to go out. And then, of course, prepare to deploy. So have your go bag ready. Make sure your family is ready. Make sure you have a plan for caring for your loved ones, your kids, your grandkids, your pets. Make sure you really are ready to go when you raise your hand or when something's happening, so that we can get you out. Also, if you look on the calendar on Volunteer Connection, you'll see on the Disaster Cycle Services calendar. So again, you need to be a disaster member to see it. You'll see that we have deployment orientations on there. So it used to be called Deployment 101. Those are live sessions with Workforce where they'll make sure that they go over all the things you need to have for deployment, all the things you need to be aware of. And while we have disasters going on, they can even tell you what hardships are tied to those disasters. So really critical that you attend one of those before you deploy if you can. They're frequently recorded. There are videos that the team can provide you if you can't, but they're very useful and very helpful.
I see some hands up. if folks are able to save their questions for the end or write your question in the Q&A tab here, we're gonna save questions for the end. Does anyone have their hand up for something that's more immediate? Nope, seeing hands go down. Okay.
Perfect. All right, and I promise we're going to leave plenty of time for questions here at the end. So the National Readiness Target, what is it? It's the Red Cross's 5-year vision for how we're going to tackle continuous response. In the last 3 years, we've responded to over six, I think a 6 or 7 billion-dollar disasters each year. So we've gone to 6 or 7, and each year we've done it, billion-plus-dollar disasters in the last few years. So this isn't going away. And these are major responses that we're getting. Things like the Maui fires, Los Angeles, the hurricanes last year with Helene, huge disasters. Even in northern New England, we never had level 4s and level 3s. And in the last 3 years, we've had 2 level 4s, 3 level 3s, and multiple level 2s. We had a level 2 once every couple of months. Never used to happen. What those levels are is the amount of resources that are required to manage the disaster for those of you that are new. So understanding that this continuous world we're in, regions need to be able to handle disasters on their own without having to call in for an enormous amount of resources. So in 5 years, the goal is that regions, for the most part, it's never going to be perfect. You're always going to need someone or something, can manage a level 3, possibly even a level 4 disaster with local volunteers. We do have an advantage here in northern New England as it relates to that. Our region is geographically vast. So a disaster to affect all 3 of our states broadly is unlikely. So we're lucky in that we can deploy volunteers within region across states to help each other, and we've done that. In fact, in Vermont, the second flood, we were 88% northern New England volunteers on a level 3 response. So that shows we can do this, and we're not far from it. But the readiness target means we have to demonstrate that we can do that, and we have to develop partners that can help us do that. And we really need to grow our workforce and our capacity exponentially. On a national level, they want to grow the volunteer workforce to 30,000 nationally available, not in the moment, just volunteers that can deploy nationwide. And that's called the National Response Force. So that number has been divvied up to regions and divisions. And I'll show you what our goals are momentarily as it relates to that number. So how are we going to do this? We need to build a culture of mobilization through regular exercises and through using our systems and tools. We need to recruit for high priority deployment positions, and we need to develop workforce that can do those positions. And then we need to engage our partners and resources locally to help us when we have an event, and we need to test that. Here's the focus positions for recruiting. These are all acronyms. So I'm not going to go into each and every single one. Just know the majority of these are related to mass care, so feeding, sheltering, external relations, so partnerships, government operations, community partnerships, and then some logistics, so supporting the feeding and the sheltering missions. The bottom 2, one is our disaster action team and one is our duty officers. So we're constantly trying to grow those teams. So here's our response force goal. Again, Northern New England needs to have this many volunteers in order to satisfy this goal that are readily available to deploy nationally. So as it relates to mass care, I tallied up all the positions. There are currently 87 nationally available deployable volunteers on our books. Our FY25 goal, I'm sorry, our FY26 goal, I need to change that. Our FY26 goal is 74. We already have that number. In fact, in 5 years, our goal is 125. We're not far from there. We're in really good shape as it relates to this part of the readiness target. Client care, 33. They want us to grow up to 40. Most of those are disaster mental health and disaster health services volunteers. Workforce engagement, we need to grow some of our staff services positions. And our plan to do that is to find workforce engagement volunteers that are assigned to every disaster response area. And by doing that, we'll hit that number. And so if anyone's interested in workforce engagement, please let Ashley know because she is looking for you. Logistics, same thing. And we need to fix the spelling there. We currently have 8 people that are listed in logistics. Our FY 26 goal is 9, and then in 5 years, our goal is 12. Now, here's the rub in all of this, and this is my opportunity to tell you that. Looking at these numbers, we need to manipulate, or we need to find, based on our current workforce right now, 13 additional people to hit our number. But all of these numbers that are being counted are only your primary gap on your profile if you're a disaster responder, or they're your secondary gap if your primary gap is disaster action team. They are not counting anybody else's gaps. So, and the reason for that is so that everybody only gets counted once towards this 30,000 person goal. So what that means is we are asking all of you tonight, and we have a whole work group that's working on this, to look at your profile and look at your gaps. Do you have a gap that you deploy in or that you want to deploy in that fits one of these categories? Is it your primary gap? If not, Tova's going to put the link in, and if not, we'll send it out as part of the email after this. Please fill out a gap request form or gap reassignment form. We'll share it with you so that the workforce engagement team can change your gap that you already have into one of these as your primary gap. It doesn't mean that you have to go in that. You can go in anything you're trained for. It's just the way they're counting. The mothership is counting. I hope that makes sense. If it does, can I get some thumbs? Thank you. Appreciate it, everybody. So again, look at your profile, look at your primary gaps. If you're uncomfortable with figuring out how to look in your profile, I'm sure your community disaster program manager, their volunteer partner, or the workforce team, any of them is happy to work with you to show you how to look at that. So here's the big one. This is the local requirement. It's all about mobilization. So somebody somewhere really, 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 really likes the term thunderbolts. Apparently they forgot that it was a Marvel movie earlier this year, or maybe they just really liked the Marvel movie. I thought it was mid, if I'm being honest. But they've come up with this concept of thunderbolt exercises. And that's how they're going to test if a region's ready to manage a level 3 or potentially level 4 disaster relief operation without needing much additional support and resources. This year, we have to get to 60% of the 2030 goal related to Thunderbolts. And the way they're going to do it is it's a no notice division driven exercise that's done in each chapter. Because we have 5 chapters, we're going to do 5 of these Thunderbolt exercises. What the Thunderbolt is we will be told that we have to open 4 shelters in New Hampshire and Vermont and 3 shelters in each of the main chapters, not all at once, 1 chapter at a time. And we have 2 hours to do it. So for those of you wondering, why is he so focused on mobilization? Why is he so focused on the alerting system? Why is it so important to him that people either accept an assignment or decline it? And decline is just as good as an accept. It's all because in order to be able to get people to a shelter site in 2 hours, we need to send the people that are the closest, that have the right training, the right capabilities, and we need to send them quickly, or else they'll never get there in 2 hours. And being honest, there are parts of northern and eastern Maine and parts of northern and Vermont and New Hampshire, even southern Vermont, where we don't have enough people to get to somewhere in 2 hours, and we're going to fail there. And that's okay, because again, we only have to get to 60% this year. But by doing these exercises, and even just the mobilization exercises we've been doing, where just for the disaster action team, we're sending an alert and saying, accept or decline. Just please let us know if you're available right now. Yes or no. Can you help us right now? And an accept is just as good as a decline. Just that is preparing us for when we get a thunderbolt to go, okay, in southern New Hampshire, we can open 2 shelters based on who responded. In central coastal Maine, when we did the last exercise, the numbers were staggering. We could have opened 10 shelters. So many people responded that they were available. It doesn't matter what the responses are. We're gathering all that data and we're building that muscle memory for the team so that when the thunderbolt comes, we're ready. And we don't know when it's going to be, so we need to get ready now. So that we're going to continue with those exercises for our disaster action teams. And for those of you that aren't on a disaster action team, but you have mass care gaps and positions, we're eventually going to get you on those schedules so you start receiving alerts as well, and you can accept or decline assignments as well. So those exercises are going to grow and expand as the year goes on. We'll make sure we inform everyone when they get put on schedules. It's based on general availability. And what that means is generally you want us to call you and let you know if something's there, and you can either accept or decline it based on what you have going on in that moment. And that's where all of that pressure and drive is coming from. And the Red Cross expects us to use RC Respond as the system of record. So that's why you get those alerts, either text, phone, or email, or all three, or any combination of them. It's from that system. So where do we need to be by the end of this fiscal year? We need to achieve 60% of our nationally available deployable responder goals. We're already almost there. We need to clean up and manage profiles and use volunteer connection efficiently and consistently across the region, both by the staff and by the volunteers. And we need to get into a regular cycle of mobilization, including answering those requests, accepting or denying. It's all we ask that you do, based on whether or not you can help us right there in that moment. So we're going to build that capacity and that muscle memory. I'm really hammering this home for a reason, everybody. And every exercise is going to have a mobilization component. We're always going to send alerts and see who accepts, because that's how we start every single exercise. And when the thunderbolts come and we have to do those exercises, that's how they're going to start, with alerts. And not all exercises require turning wheels, boots on the ground. Like we've been doing, the exercise can be as simple as accept or decline. Totally okay. And again, like I said, for those disaster action team people, when you get these alerts for fire calls, the proof is there. We're getting to more scenes. We're getting to people in person. We're getting people that are closer to them to these calls. We're using more of our workforce, not less. It's not always the same people going to these calls. More people are getting opportunities. And yes, we have to do more training. And yes, we have to make sure that that workforce is prepared when they get these calls. But what it's leading to is a huge amount of engagement for our workforce, and our workforce is growing. So we just need to keep doing this, and we need to stick with it because it's working. So how are we going to hit those targets? Remember, I talked about how Tova's got the enviable task, or inenviable task, of building our plan and keeping track of it, right? So what we're doing there is we've built 4 cross-functional teams with disaster cycle services and volunteer services. We've even started to add executive director to one of the teams, and we're looking at other departments as well. Those teams are building a plan for how they're going to address their part of the goals this year. And then they're going to report monthly on their activity and progress. That first meeting is next week. So they're going to report monthly on where they're at. Those teams are right now, as far as one team is looking at profiles, one team is looking at technology, alerting, and tracking, keeping record of what we're doing. Another team is looking at recruitment, internal and external. And then there's a team looking at training and exercise and running those drills and doing all that training. So those 4 teams, including people that are working with Tova on project management, being embedded in those teams, are already getting to work, and you're seeing the fruits of their labor with these exercises that have been going on and with the alerting that you're seeing. So in summary, we always have to do our day-to-day response. That's prime. That's what we do every day. We have to support disaster relief operations. We need to work towards our readiness target, and we need to be present and involved in our communities. In a nutshell, that's what we're doing this year. And now, Tova, if you've got any questions in the chat, I'd love to take them, or if anyone wants to raise their hand.
No questions at the moment in the chat.
Does anyone have any questions? Southern Oscillation. Thank you, Nancy. I couldn't remember the O. Also, El Nino is what my mom calls me because my mom is Cuban and I'm the baby of the family. So yo soy El Nino.
I'm the baby too, so.
Oh, so
Welcome
you
aboard.
know. Anyone else have any questions? Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, you mentioned cross-functional teams. Could you give an example of cross-functional and what types of combinations that might involve?
Sure. So we're keeping those really high level, Chris. Those are really focused on how we're going to hit our readiness target goals. So one team I'll pick on is our training and exercise team. So it consists of DCS staff, volunteer services staff, volunteer partners from the DCS staff. And that team is looking at what training do we need to do to achieve our readiness target goals, if we need to bring in specific in-person training or virtual instructor-led training. And they're also looking at running the exercises like we just recently did with our disaster action teams, that mobilization exercise we did. They're looking at how we're going to track them, use them, and then build on them month to month. So every month they're going to get a little more bigger and more complicated because we're working towards those thunderbolts. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it, Chris. Deirdre,
Yeah, hi, thanks.
are you
So-
related to Ashley by any chance?
No, we do share the same last name though. Well, I don't know, maybe a long ways back at some point, but
Anything's possible, right? It's Maine.
yeah. She's only, I've only met 2 other St. Louis's in my life, so
That's awesome.
it's cool.
We
So
haven't had time to really sit down and like draw out a line, John, but like, trust me that we will make time.
sounds good. You had a slide talking about update your disaster responder availability and volunteer connection. Now
Yes.
I'm working on my gap, but I haven't completed all the training yet. So do I not have access to that yet?
You may not, but as soon as you have a gap, you will.
Okay.
And I'll let Ashley explain that. Go ahead, Ash.
Thanks.
Yeah, if anyone doesn't see the disaster availability section in their profile, it's because you haven't been marked a disaster responder in the system yet, and that happens once you earn your first gap. So if you haven't earned your first gap yet, then just keep going and it'll be part of the steps. When we assign you that first gap, we'll send you instructions on how that section then opens up and how to use it. If you do have a gap and you're not seeing that section, I can take a look at your profile and shoot you an email in a few minutes and let you know what the problem is or that you're all set now or something to that effect.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome.
Great question,
I
Deirdre.
have a
Thank
question
you.
in that regard too, but I'm calling in, so I can't raise my hand.
Oh, it's okay. Go ahead.
Okay, this is Sheila Blackman.
Hi,
And
Sheila.
it is, hi, this question is also about on volunteer connection, showing our availability. When we show availability for deployment,
Mhm.
Is that the same as general availability?
No, and that's
for,
a great
like,
question.
everyday use?
That's a great question. So no, volunteer connection deployment for availability is purely, can we call you to deploy you out of region? General
And it's under what?
availability, it's under volunteer connection.
Right, but I mean, the section is under disaster,
Disaster cycle
availability?
services availability. Yep.
Okay,
General availability is used in RC Respond, which is our day-to-day response system. And that is done through working with your coordinator for your disaster action team and your community disaster program manager to put that in for you, or to work with you to put it in yourself.
okay, that's what I thought. Second question is also about record keeping, more record keeping, but I was under the understanding that meetings automatically went into the logged hours. Is that true?
Great
Or do
question.
we, when we do meetings, do we have to go in and log it ourselves?
Great question. The answer is it depends. So if you sign up for a meeting on Volunteer Connection, we try, Ashley tries, and I certainly try when I do one, to make sure that the meeting's hours automatically go towards your profile. But whoever sets up the meeting has to set up the meeting in that structure in that way, and some people don't know that. So it's always good to double check.
Okay, thank you.
100%. Thank you. I appreciate the questions. Eric, I see your hands up. Go ahead.
Yeah, John, I just want to mention to those on the call that are not already disaster services volunteers, if it's something you're interested in, there are two quick ways to sign up with disaster, get connected, to be given more information. One would be to go to the opportunities tab at the top of your Volunteer Connection homepage, where you can search for disaster services positions and click apply. And a member of our screening team will connect with you and refer you over to the disaster department for engagement. The other is, if you have a hard time finding the right thing, just email volunteernne@redcross.org, and we'll forward that to a member of our recruitment team, and they'll connect you to that process. So, two easy ways to get connected with disaster.
Awesome, Eric. Thank you. Nancy, go ahead.
I had a question of going back to the question about the hours spent at a meeting.
Yeah.
But I don't think that people realize that they should also put down their travel time.
Yeah.
As
That's
you
a
know,
great point.
because some people, in rural areas have to travel an hour to get to a meeting.
Mhm.
That's part of the meeting, so to speak. But I don't think a lot of people, well, maybe most people realize that, but I just wanted to bring it up.
Nancy,
Thank you.
that's such a great point. I appreciate that. And that's
Thanks.
right. Another thing related to that. So if we dispatch you on RC Response, so we assign you to a call, or if we say we're opening a shelter and we assign you to a shelter, this is very cool. The entire time you're assigned to that call, those hours are tallied up and assigned to your profile. So that is done automatically, which is great. Teresa, welcome.
Hi, I just had to take it off mute. So I just have a question when you're talking about going into RC Respond, and
Yep.
I'm looking at my home region and it's not NNE. So I'm just wondering does anyone know how to add a second region?
Great question. I'm going to refer you to Frank Martin for that. So if you shoot Frank Martin an email, he can help you fix that.
Perfect, thank you.
All right, folks. Anyone else have any questions, any comments? Otherwise, I'm going to give you 5 minutes back. We finished early. That never happened, so I'm proud of us. Jennifer, go ahead. Oh, Jennifer, I think you're on mute still. There you
Evening.
go.
Hi.
Hi, Jennifer.
Is there a place where I can find a list of the acronyms?
I bet somebody on this call will email you the acronym cheat sheet.
That would be fantastic.
Can you put your email in the Q&A, and I'm sure one of our wonderful people, either Tova or Ashley, will send it to you.
Who do I direct it to in the Q&A?
Just type it in as a question, and Tova will see it.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone have any other questions?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment, kind of
Go
a
for it.
compliment, actually.
Go for it.
I'm a volunteer that's kind of in and out of the region a lot, and so I often am not in the area. But this new system of contacting the closest person to the disaster has made me as a volunteer feel like I'm called when needed. Before, because I wasn't here very much, I felt like I was kind of on the back burner all the time. And now at least it's an option. Yes, I can go, or no, I can't go. I feel a lot more engaged in the whole process.
You're going to make me
So,
cry because I've been saying that for 3 years. Thank you so much for that.
Well, I've
That
been
makes me
frustrated
feel
about
so
it, and
great.
I feel like it's better, quite a bit better now.
It is. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm going to say it one last time to have already made fun of me for saying pudding too much. But the proof is literally in the pudding. Our numbers are so much, our client satisfaction, people are feeling better helped by the Red Cross because we're doing this way. And we've been doing it now for, I would say, probably 7 months, 6 months. And now we're really humming and everyone's getting used to doing it. All the duty officers are using it. It's only going to get better.
Well, thank you, because it's making a difference just from feeling engaged and a part of it. It really has made a difference.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Sheila.
Mm-hmm.
All right, everybody. Anyone have any one last thing? Any last things? If not, I'm going to let, Todd, I see you on mute. Go ahead, Todd.
John?
Yeah, go for it, Todd.
Thank you. I think you've done an excellent job of explaining things. It's really nice to get caught up to where we're heading and what direction and some of the implementation of the processes that we're going. Beautiful.
I really appreciate that, Todd. Thank you. Thank you. Well, everyone, I thank all of you, all 75 of you. That was where we were at peak, which I don't think I've ever seen that many people in one meeting in Northern New England in a long time. Thank you all so much, and have a great night. Thank you for everything you do. Here's to a great FY26 and hitting our goals and really continuing to grow and keep building on what we've been doing because we've been spectacular.
Nice job. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Have a great night.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.